RT4560. Yeah.
Okay. Administrative report, moderator, is that okay?
Yes, please. I'll leave that to you.
Who's going to move these?
Richard, or
Charlie?
Charlie said he would. They're lined up.
Barb? Okay. That the minutes of the regular meeting of the Presbytery of the Northwest, June 19th, 2025, be adopted as circulated.
That's moved and seconded. Any questions?
That the report be received and its recommendations
okay,
considered.
First, it's moved to consider the report before we get to the other part. All in favor of that? Okay, it's carried.
And the minutes of June 19th be approved as circulated.
Is there any questions or comments relative to those? If you got anything, raise your hand and then I can go from there. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. The agenda.
The agenda be as circulated.
Duly moved and seconded. Any additions or questions anybody has relative to that? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried.
Yes, the items of correspondence be referred as designated. I don't know if there was new, I think I sent out them all. I added Ian Ross McDonald sent out funds for counseling people as a result of homophobia or transphobia, an updated policy in harassment and webinars about harassment, and fund for ministerial assistance. Is there anybody who needs to know about the fund for ministerial assistance?
Ken said he might not need to know.
The Fund for Ministerial Assistance was set up by a $1 million gift many years ago, and it provides assistance to married ministers with children, I think.
Yeah. And other circumstances if they're deemed. But it is married
It's primarily
ministers,
for
yeah.
married ministers with children whose family income is at a certain threshold. So I remember many years ago when I was in Yorkton that was very helpful to get a little extra money when I was on minimum stipend and my wife wasn't working, that sort of thing. Yeah. So,
and we also, myself and Jan, we got it back in the 90s when Ashley was in hospital for 9 months, and so it was there to help us in all the travel back and forth.
But if there is any minister in financial distress, they can always contact the clerk, and whether we can apply, whatever that issue is, and whether they're married or single or whatever, we would try to see if there are some funds for someone who needed some help. Okay.
So those correspondences moved to be put to those various designations. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Okay, we are doing calls to action from the TRC. According to a previous Presbytery meeting, we decided we would work through these, hear them a couple at a time. So I've got 3 today. Number 10, we call on the federal government to draft new Aboriginal education legislation with the full participation and informed consent of Aboriginal peoples. The new legislation would include a commitment to sufficient funding and would incorporate the following principles: providing sufficient funding to close identified educational achievement gaps within one generation; 2, approving education attainment levels and success rates; 3, developing culturally appropriate curricula; 4, protecting the right to Aboriginal languages, including the teaching of Aboriginal languages as credit courses; 5, enabling parental and community responsibility, control, and accountability, similar to what parents enjoy in public school systems; 6, enabling parents to fully participate in the education of their children; 7, respecting and honoring treaty relationships. 11, we call upon the federal government to provide adequate funding to end the backlog of First Nation students seeking a post-secondary education. And 12, we call upon the federal, provincial, territorial, and Aboriginal governments to develop culturally appropriate early childhood education programs for Aboriginal families. The next item is retirement.
Actually, moderator, I have a sort of a dumb question. In relation and support the reviewing of the calls to action, but I'm wondering if this was done and I missed it. Is the Presbytery writing the federal government to support these things, or is it reviewing what the General Assembly courts have already done? What's it, does the court want, secondly, does the court want the sessions of the Presbytery to consider writing or doing other things in relation to actually implementing these things? I may have missed it.
I think the original intent was to at least, as a presbytery, hear what they actually were.
Right.
And many of these aren't specific to the church. There are some that are specific to the church. But at any time, any presbyter can say, that's interesting, we should do this as a presbytery to follow up. But that's up to any presbyter to make there's nothing from that was said before saying what we should do as action. We're just hearing them every presbytery meeting from now. If presbyters want to take action, that would be up to them to follow up and say, this one was in the minutes, I think we should do this about that.
Okay, then, moderator, since I asked the question, to test the will of the court, I don't have a seconder, but I'll move that the clerk write the appropriate agency within the federal government to encourage the federal government to do these things that are listed in our minutes or agenda.
Hey, you got that, but they just. And there's a seconder?
Additional motion.
So while, Harry, putting that.
Moved
By Charles. And you have to remind me. Who? Right there.
Betty.
Right there. Betsy.
The clerk, right? Who?
Write the appropriate agency within the federal government to request that they fulfill these various concerns, or whatever the right word is. Amendments.
These call to actions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Discussion around that motion. If any-
I
Well,
didn't-
Barb sat down, so I'm not sure if you want to talk on that motion?
Sure.
Okay.
So I think in favor of the motion. I just wanted to remind the court that coming up just about 10 days from now is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And so we have tomorrow and then one more Sunday before that happens. And so people may want to be thinking about what they might want to say about it, what they might want to do about it, how they might want to acknowledge that, and how each of us as individuals and as congregations might be thinking about what we might do or how we might acknowledge that. This is one step. I mean, I think because these calls to action are quite dated now, what we might be wanting to request from the federal government is something more specifically about where are we at on calls to action 10, 11, and 12 or something specific. But
While you're saying that, Barb, you made a comment about finding out where things are at, so you can either add that to that motion as a friendly amendment or a separate motion, if you would like, because that would be interesting to see what actually has been done on things that have been there for how many years now?
I mean, I would leave it to my friends
Yeah.
moving. It just, what came to my mind is because, is it 9 years? I mean, it's quite some time since those call to actions were looking for what action is taken and maybe asking the government agency, whomever it is you're gonna be writing to, what actions are taking place in the bounds of our presbytery and what information can you provide us with, kind of something like that is what I was thinking.
Charles?
I'll take that into advisement if the mover and seconder will,
Are you,
I think, well, depending on what Betsy says, I think it's a dandy idea, good idea.
yeah, that's yours, right? Good with that? Just getting information back up, like we're asking them to ask the further step, what has been done about this?
Yes, I'm really good with that. I also, I've been replaying lip service by reading this out all the time. But what are we actually doing to forward this cause? As individuals or as a group in the Presbyterian Church in Alberta?
that's a separate question, that's not included in the motion. That's just, you're just asking, what is the presbytery doing?
Yeah, we are writing, we're asking what the government is doing and everything. But it's really important that here as Albertans, we should not just be paying lip service, but through our actions, we should be able to address First Nations, be able to help them. I mean, it's good enough to say it, but there's a lot of feedback from First Nations that, that's what we're doing, like the appearance, but no action.
Very brief comment with your indulgence, moderators. So just as a reminder, my recollection is that our friend Randy Osgood made a motion some time ago that at least some action we would be doing is reading several. And I think I think that's great. And we're having a little discussion today arising from that. And I think that's kind of what the purpose is to, or I think what Randy intended was that all of us be thinking about these calls to action and where we're at.
Okay, Mark, did you?
I just wanted to point out that we do have an important ministry to Indigenous communities within the bounds of our presbytery, and Edmonton Urban Native Ministry that operates out of St. Andrews. The Korean Presbytery West Mahanka runs that, but that's a community that could do with your prayers and support if you wanted to find other ways of engaging.
I think individual churches may be doing things. I know First Church, didn't they do something recently?
Oh, the Presbytery sponsored that. I figured we'd talk about it every porch time.
Well, yeah, there was an event recent.
Yes, okay, we're talking about it now.
Yeah,
So the Presbytery, if you missed the June meeting, the Presbytery committed sponsorship to ecumenical event run by the Kairos organization last Saturday at Blue Quills Residential School. They were blown away. It registered over capacity, and they still thought, well, it's free, people register. Everybody showed up. We had to break it out into separate groups and adjust the programming as a response. It was great programming. It was really impactful for us. And some of the survivors and the elders, sincerely told the organizers afterward that showing up does matter. That it was meaningful to the survivors to see that people showed up to hear their stories and care about what happened to them. So if you are off work, off school on the 30th, and you're able just to show up and participate for 20 minutes at whatever event is happening in your area, that really is meaningful to the survivors. And thank you for sponsoring.
William?
Moderator, I'm not speaking to the motion, but I have information I would like to share when we're finished with the motion.
Okay. Anything else around the motion? If not, all in favor of that motion? Those opposed? It's carried. William, you wanted to,
Thank you. I serve on the strange name, but the Apology Committee of the General Assembly. We just recently created a new response to First Nations regarding residential schools that the General Assembly approved 2 assemblies ago. The committee was asked to continue its work in terms of how to implement it. And so part of that was reaching out to various groups, asking how would it be best shared with you in a respectful way. And so just now it's happening. In October, the Grand Council for Treaty 3, which is Winnipeg and area, have invited the moderator of the Presbyterian Church to come and present the apology to them. It has been translated into that local Cree Ojibwe language. We're translating it into multiple languages for the places, particularly where we have had responsibility for residential schools. And so that event will be happening about mid-October on behalf of the whole of the Presbyterian Church in Canada. So I thought you might like to know that that is happening.
okay, thank you.
And yeah, copies of the apology itself are available, not just online, but there's also, you can either download it as a PDF or order a print version that is done, that can be displayed in churches.
Okay,
Okay. So the next item is, we received a letter from Ken McRae noting that he is going to retire in January. So we're just noting that in the minutes, and we don't have to do anything right now. Unless there's a motion, do we need a motion? Like, could you?
You can't stop me.
I know, but in order to apply to the retirement fund of the Presbyterian Church, do you need a motion from Presbytery?
I'm not applying for it until I turn 65.
so,
Okay.
yeah, he's retiring, but not,
Whenever you need a motion, if you need a motion, come back to the Presbytery. But we certainly wish you well in retirement. And brings up another matter. Matt Reed is the balancing elder for Ken. And so when we vote on the roll, I'm suggesting that we put Matt Reed as the balancing elder for the other chaplain in the military, which we never got around to adding a balancing elder for, and Mr. Schneeman. So, Gabriel. Okay? So when we vote on the roll, that Matt will be the balancing elder or equalizing elder there. Okay, on to
the remit.
the remit, yes. There's only one remit this year. A remit is when the General Assembly passes something that pertains to the Book of Forms, and in order to pass it, it has to pass or change the doctrine of the church. It has to pass a General Assembly. It goes down to the presbyteries who vote on that, and then it goes back and is passed to the Second General Assembly. This year's remit, changing the rules of the church or the Book of Forms, is to add a new position of interim moderator assistant. That would mean that lay people would be able to assist an interim moderator and do the bulk of the work. So they haven't actually made lay people interim moderators, but basically an interim moderator, say in the Peace River District, could then have lay assistants would look for supply and do pastoral care and do some of that work. I don't know all the specifics of what
That's the whole.
That's the whole thing.
Remit, yeah. If they want, I could.
And then if it passes at Assembly again next year, then if we were to set up interim moderator assistants, then we would have to come up with their terms for each particular job and whatever remuneration would be appropriate. So basically what we're voting on is the substance of the idea that we would allow this to happen. And so you can't change the actual motion, all you can say is yes or no.
If you say
If there's
yes,
further
no.
questions, George has, I don't know what's all in there. but-
This is the actual remit that we're voting on, so.
Okay, but that has more about what they can do or not do?
Yeah, so for example, for information, so it's the interim moderator assistant is accountable to Presbytery through the interim moderator. The interim moderator assistant may be compensated according to the standing orders of the commissioning Presbytery. So that's how that remuneration might happen. Whenever a pastoral charge is deemed by the Presbytery ready to begin a search process, the call minister and interim moderator will facilitate the process, but the interim moderator assistant may continue their duties. So it's that idea of, and that's the latter part of it. It's really where there's no, it's where Presbytery, the first line, just do it this way, it's easier. Where a Presbytery discerns that there is no minister of word and sacraments available to carry out the full typical range of responsibilities of an interim moderator for a pastoral charge, it may commission a ruling elder or a member of the order of diaconal ministries to assist with this work on the following terms. That the candidate shall be interviewed by the Presbytery to assert their personal and spiritual qualifications to serve as interim moderator assistant. The candidate, this is to be trained in relevant polity, the facilitation of session and congregational meetings, basic pastoral care, and reporting to Presbytery through an interim moderator. 3, those commissioned as interim moderator assistants shall serve a specific pastoral charge for a period not exceeding 2 years. This commission is renewable following a Presbytery review. And then the interim moderator assistant shall be accountable, as I said already. So it's really just giving the places, and Harry used Peace River, I was looking at that, but in some places there is not clergy to do the interim moderator, which is what our Book of Forms section says now. This would give an assistant who could do the work, but under the auspices of the interim moderator overseeing with the blessing of the Presbytery. Similar in a way, I guess, to elders allowing to do communion by Presbytery's permission in congregations where there is not or will not be a resident, and because of distances and stuff like that, which is one
Okay.
we passed a couple of years ago.
So the admin committee says that the Presbytery vote yes to the 2025 remit. So that's what we're recommending to you. So that's the vote before you.
Yeah, because it's moved and duly second. Christine?
My only comment is, as a member of the document order, and there's very few of us left, but it's kind of demeaning. It's like, you can do this job, and many have done the job as an interim moderator. You can do it, but you are going to be supervised by the real interim moderator. And so it's a little demeaning for diaconal ministries, and many of whom are now in the most, not serving actively, in retirement now. So anyway, it's not really fair to diaconal ministers, but I understand the need of it.
That's a fair point, considering
So,
some.
could be made of being respectful
Well-
to diaconal ministry. I would appreciate it. I don't know, it's like, it's only yes or no, there's no.
Yeah, there's
It's
no,
only yes or
yeah,
no.
there's no, if yes with a note means no.
Okay.
No, that's just the way it works. It's yes or no. Barb?
So, but could we not just do that as a separate thing, right to the committee or whoever, pointing this, we can say what our vote is, but can we also do that? Because I think it's a valid point, and maybe how we do things out west is a little different than how, it's just my thought moderator.
So the reality of that, as Harry mentioned earlier, is that this remit, and remits work this way, as it comes down to the Presbytery, you vote yea or nay, goes back to General Assembly, and the General Assembly coming up in 26 would be getting the responses, and from there would say yea or nay to the remit. I understand, I hear what you're saying, the two of you, but at the same time, the only way you get a note in is if you vote yes with a note or no. And you can give your reasons, but it's really a straight yes or no answer. But a note could be sent if if this presbytery wanted to do it that way. You
Well, the
can,
note
but
can't change
it
it.
won't change it. It would have
can't
to go
change
back.
it.
It would have to go back.
It would have to go back to another general assembly with a change to the Book of Forms. And it would have to be by overture that, you know.
Yeah.
So
So-
we'd have to pass this and then say, but we want to change something about it now. So you'd have to overture
Yeah.
to change it.
Yeah, so if it goes through, if it goes through next year, let's say it's all yes, then someone can write an overture right after that, saying we want to make this change in section, 213.4.1, we want this, that's an overture, as Harry said, so.
And so if you are a commissioner next year at the General Assembly, or in that kind of position, to be able to raise that, it would be appreciated. I am sure that the diaconal council will do themselves, make a comment. But it's also often not something that's voiced, right? And so I hope we hear it.
And if it's not voiced, it's still, somebody could start an overture next year for an answer to that. But so it's a yes, it's a yes or no. So that's what you have to vote on. It's either you're voting yes or no. So the admin committee is saying
We'd like
yes,
to vote yes. That's what the admin committee was. We're recommending that we vote yes.
but you can vote the way you feel. So any questions or other comments about that particular, it's a motion that the presbytery vote yes on this remit A. And I'm assuming the mover and seconder are still moving and seconding that. Betsy, too? Okay, all in favor? Those opposed? Okay. Did you want it noted?
Sure.
There you go. You got it. Christine,
Do I have to give comment? I can raise it.
you don't have to give,
You don't have to give,
comment, but you can.
you don't, okay. We don't record no's. You can record dissent.
So you're dissenting rather
You're
than no.
dissenting, saying you don't agree that this is a legal thing that the church should do. Do you want to record that? Okay.
First of my career.
You want to get it in.
You got
while
it in before
can.
you retire, right?
You're on a roll.
Okay, so that is approved as a yes vote by Presbytery.
Okay, St. Paul's Eckville. After considering the future of that, there was a correspondence from St. Paul's Eckville. After considering the future of their ministry, is asking permission of the Presbytery to apply to the Sustaining Ministries Fund. And so the motion is that St. Paul's Presbyterian Church be allowed to apply to the Sustaining Ministries Fund. Does anybody need any clarification on what the Sustaining Ministries Fund is? Basically, it's a fund that helps churches that are struggling, and there's a set of terms by which you apply to this fund. If you get, just because you apply doesn't mean you'll get it, but if you apply, then the idea is to help that church over a few years, usually often it's a declining grant, is it not? So they start out with X number of dollars and over, say, 5 years, decline it a little bit each year to help a congregation get through a difficult time.
Okay, any questions around that? Comments? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried.
There was a suggestion made to the admin committee that the presbytery appoint a deputy clerk who could fill in for the clerk when the clerk is sick, away, on holiday, or to take over if and when the clerk retires. And so the admin committee is recommending that we appoint a deputy clerk.
Now, do you want to tie those two together?
And that the admin committee look into a process for appointing a deputy clerk and remuneration. So, in other words, if we vote this, then the admin committee would be the one that would look for a deputy clerk and come up with a recommendation on what that clerk would get paid or if that clerk get paid, I don't know. Depending on what they're doing, I guess, or how. Anyway,
Questions around that?
So, two separate motions?
it's in the minutes as two separate motions.
So the first one with that they,
But for the treasurer, I have it as one motion. But anyway, I don't know why.
yeah, well, it's in here as two, we can do it as two, so.
I speak in favor of both.
Any other questions about, this is appointing deputy clerk. This is the first one, so it's moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
And that the admin committee look into a process for appointing a deputy clerk and remuneration.
And that's moved and seconded. Any questions around that one? Comments? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried.
And then the treasurer said, well, if the clerk gets a deputy, why doesn't the treasurer get a deputy? So we'd like to appoint a deputy treasurer, that the Presbytery appoint a deputy treasurer and admin have power to issue to appoint one. And again, look into remuneration.
Okay, you want it separately or? Same
That's
way?
one motion.
One motion in this case. So it's moved and seconded. Any questions around that? So all in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
I was wondering, moderator, do you require a deputy?
No, Harry just finds someone to do it.
What's a deputy?
She asked if I needed a deputy as moderator. So no, Harry just finds someone.
Yeah, we just find someone.
The process for doing that is to go back to the previous.
We often go back to a previous moderator, but
There's a process.
That's a little tongue in cheek there.
I can't see.
Okay, so we good?
deputy dog. Wigert Hessels, our former deputy treasurer for the Presbytery of the Northwest, died several weeks ago. Wigert was the treasurer for the Presbytery of Edmonton Lakeland for many years. He chaired the committee, I think, when General Assembly was held in Edmonton over 20 years ago. He was a fine man, a servant of the church, a capable treasurer, a good family man, a passionate Presbyterian elder. He will be missed, and we thought we should note that in the minutes.
It's just a actual, I think, should that be Presbytery rather than Presbytery?
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
In the last line, you got Presbytery, passionate Presbytery.
Presbyter. And he was at times passionate. Those who knew him well. That's. The next thing you can, whatever was, I took that thing about the next meeting being here. There was a correction to referrals. So notice the correction. In the referrals, it talked about the Creve Conference Center being the first choice, but that was actually a mistake. What should have been in recommendation MEC-001, that the Presbyterian Church in Canada camping and conference centers be commended as the first choice of location for all Presbyterian Church in Canada gatherings, retreats, and conferences when fitting. So that puts our camp, Canowin, as one of the preferred places for us to hold events. Treasurer's report. So I sent out the treasurer's report, and the mission and development income and expenses are to date, 99,000, and we have income from congregation and regional funds in the National Church of 56,000 and change, and Presbytery dues are still owing. So, well, other things that Richard might want to talk about, you get up and talk.
There is.
Or questions that.
First thing is the financial report, the one that has all the numbers in it. It was asked this morning, just for clarification, that what does the number, what do the numbers mean? And the column entitled budget is what has been sent out to all the Presbytery negative, that means that church has not paid any or all of their presbytery dues. So you know who you are, and you can look at the numbers and see who's paid what. The other thing is, I have, since we're meeting in person, we're covering your expenses. So if anybody that I haven't got to yet has travel expenses, see me, and I've got a form that you can fill out, and I will reimburse your expenses. Another thing is on the topic of hiring, we had a student this year, Romulus Road, and he's now back in university. The terms of his employment, I wasn't really, what should I say, involved in it. So it was, I had to do a bit of interpretation as to how to do it for the summer. That wasn't a problem. But just to make things smoother, if we do go and hire somebody in the future, I would like to be involved from the start. Not to decide who gets hired, but how and what the remuneration is going to be, what the package will be. Yeah, and I think that's probably all that I have, unless there are questions.
Thank you, Richard.
So that, I'll get right down here, that the treasurer's, that the Presbytery, the treasurer's report.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or not? If not, all in favor? Those opposed? That's carried.
Okay, the report as a whole, moderator.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
One item of clerk's business. The clerk has updated the roll as of October 1st. Some things that we should note in this updated roll. I have, since I sent out the last one, there's been some changes in terms of like who's clerk of session and some email addresses. But the things that you should note in the new role is that John Dowds is an interim moderator and Harry Curry is an interim moderator. So we will be adding them to the role as balancing ministers. So we vote on this, we add, and if you don't want to, you change the role. But so we need to speak up if you don't want to add. But basically when ministers are interim moderators and not on the roll because they're retired, they can be added to the roll to help balance out the presbytery. And so that's what I'm suggesting that we do. And so, but I think you need to be aware when we vote on the roll. And the other thing I mentioned that Matt Reed will go from being the balancing elder to Gabriel Schneeman. So now we're ready to vote on the roll.
Okay. Any other questions or things you want to ask Harry about that roll? If not, all in favor of the roll as it's presented here, we can make change along the way. Those opposed? It's carried.
I don't think there's any business arising from our minutes. Nope. So on to interim moderators and mission points and sharing ministries and any other congregations. Moderator, I can start with Calvin Hungarian Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
I won't read my whole report, but I met with a session of Calvin Hungarian in July, getting to know them, listening to their stories and their hopes. The previous interim moderator, I think, did good work with them, Janet Taylor, and they were in conversation with Reverend Karoy Gadalai, who's a Presbyterian minister living in Calgary without charge. He took the service on September the 7th, which was a special Thanksgiving service for Hungarians. He spoke about his vision for ministry to Hungarian-speaking people afterwards, had quite a detailed presentation. He noted there's probably 150 Reformed Hungarian-speaking Christians in Edmonton, and there is certainly potential for them to be visited and to encouraged to attend the church. Last year, they raised about $60,000. They did manage to support a full-time minister for 7 years who resigned over a year ago. And so their hope and vision is that if they have a minister, that will increase their attendings and givings, and they don't believe they can go full-time. And so they're looking at half-time. Even that's a step of faith. So they decided the best way to go about it was to present a 2-year interim contract for half-time work. There is some money in the bank, not a lot of money, but that should be able to guarantee them those 2 years for sure. And this would give the congregation a chance, and Reverend Godalai, a chance to visit and build the congregation. And they're not committed to long-term necessarily, but there is new work with the national church in three Hungarian representatives are going to be appointed to do work to Hungarians. It's possible there'll be somebody in the West, and that might be the future might be able to tie in with our position here. And so the session is presenting to Presbytery a contract for 2 years half-time work to engage the Reverend Karoly Godalai as minister to Calvin Hungarian. They're asking that I would stay on as interim moderator during this time, and I would not be paid the interim moderator's fee and would let Reverend Godalai moderate the session. Reverend Godalai would provide 2 in-person worship services a month. The other services would be online services. Reverend Godalai lives in Calgary, and during this interim time, it's not prudent to sell his home and move here. His wife is quite sick, and that's not saying it could not happen in the future, depending how things work out. But for now, he would be living in Calgary. And that's in the contract I sent out to, I think I sent it out to everybody. So, moved and seconded. I will move. I'll need a seconder.
Seconder for that motion? No. Edna? Good try, Ashley.
That Calvin Hungarian engage the Reverend Karoly Godalai for a 2-year term at halftime, and that the circulated contract be signed.
Okay, questions and comments about that? When's the date that would?
October 1st, if we can get it signed.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, there's duly moved and seconded, and seeing no comments. All in favor of that? Those opposed? It's carried.
I think the congregation will be very happy about that. Okay. Wrong thing. There is a report from John Dowds from First Church and Millwoods Presbyterian Church. Anybody from First or Millwoods want to comment on any? There's some crazy characters retiring, I think, from Millwoods. And their last service is soon.
A week from now.
2 Sundays.
I guess it's Representative Elders. Yes, their last service is 2 Sundays, and we're going to be missing them. And there's a big event at Millwoods, and anybody who can make it would be very welcome to come. We can't say more, but have
Yeah, it takes a while to get those tar and feathers all lined up, you know. Anyway,
They literally saved our church over the last few years, and it's going to be really hard seeing them go. But we're doing really good progress for the future, and working really hard on it because they gave us lots of warning. And since Reverend Bell is in Australia, we've had to sort of manage on our own for a while, but we're doing okay.
Anybody from First Church want to say anything? Or just leave it as it is? I'm looking at the two of you, don't worry about it. Okay.
there's also a report on St. Andrew's Innisfail from Charlie. Is there anything you want to add to that, Charlie, or comment about, or highlight?
Well,
They've been working hard.
I'm sorry?
You say they've been working hard, they've been diligent to work on this
Well,
shared ministry.
yes, they have been. Moderator and Ken Morrison may want to give more detail. All I should say is that the item that probably really should be highlighted for the court's attention is the possibility of the St. Andrews and/or their partner congregations in Innisfail hiring their own student minister to focus exclusively on the working around Innisfail in the summer of 2026. And there's St. Andrews has been faithfully putting away money into a fund to help support that. And if I was right, Ken, in saying that probably it would be better to say, moderator, that the congregation isn't necessarily couch it, necessarily looking for financial support, would welcome it, but isn't looking for it. So the congregation wanted to be upfront and let the Presbytery know that that is in the offing for 2026. So unless there are questions or comments, or unless, Ken, you want to say something? It's for information.
Just wait.
Mr. Moderator, just like to say that this is a new step, I think, probably for many churches or congregations to pursue, whereby we started out calling it, a shared ministry, and it's more or less a shared worship, shall we put it? And we're getting some response with the other churches. We're through the summer months for like 3 that we kind of share ministers and go to their church or they come to ours. It seemed to help a couple of them, I think, quite a bit. And we're anticipating down the road, and when it's down the road, that means that yesterday was the Ice Age. So down the road, maybe a little while, that we're going to be able to get a shared worship where we can share each other's minister a couple times a month. And if we can do that, then they'll look after their minister, whether it's the pulpit supply minister or what, that doesn't matter. And then we'll have the same thing. We think it's something it's probably not been challenged or tried too many times, and we can thank Reverend Road for bringing the idea forth. And we kind of used him as the sounding board to try to make something happen. So kind of sad if in this presbytery, albeit I'm thinking more yesterday's presbytery here in Central Alberta, that the oldest church here would have to close. I mean, yes, this church is old, and this congregation is old. Innisfail's older.
Barb?
Just a comment, moderator. So many years ago, I was on a committee of the Presbytery of Edmonton Lakeland about the together. I'm not the person, but I'm just wondering, like, who from Lakeland, it seems to me that Reverend Annabelle Wallace might have been the convener of that, Reverend Mark Chang, I think, maybe, no. I think it's so important, and I'm so thankful that we're meeting in person as a presbytery, because hopefully at lunch and different times, people will be talking and sharing, because we learn, from my perspective, we learn so much from hearing about what other congregations are doing and communicating with them. Thank you, Moderator.
We did have a summer student, did we not, this year? Right. That was available to the whole presbytery.
Yeah, exactly. And so that maybe this presbytery, our new presbytery, should be considering 2 or 3 students. I know there's funding that we get, and different people smarter than me know what's going on in that department.
Just one thing, so you understand, the student minister that we're proposing to get for next summer would work with our church. It'll work with the United Church in Innisfail, the Anglican Church, and the Lutheran Church. So that, and we told them we'd pay the bill. They don't have any, for instance, summer programs for the kids. There's places there's no kids, but sometimes if you get 1 or 2 of those little guys show up, they bring 10 of their friends with them. And so with our summer camp, when we had a minister, yeah, we only had a couple kids, but there was 25 of them coming through the door for the summer. And so we're proposing this to those other congregations. They like the idea that they don't have to pay for it, which, whatever, it doesn't matter. But we want you to know that we're not asking for support. We just want to let you know what we'd like to do, and our purpose of doing it is, for the most part, we'll be running summer programs more or less for the youth, and to help the churches if they need some help with something. And that's kind of where it is. It's not going to be a position that's going to be high profile for, say, the presbytery here, but it's certainly going to help out congregations needs.
Moderator.
Yep.
I know that they're not asking for help, but the only way you get help is that someone makes a motion at this court for help. So if you present a detailed plan for next year and a budget and bring it to presbytery, I'm sure someone will make a motion to support you from our mission fund. So, but it will not happen unless someone makes a motion or someone asks. So we would almost invite you to ask us for help.
Moderator will take that under advisement. I'm not being dismissive. We'll take it under advisement, and because there's clearly some preparatory work to do with the budgeting and stuff, and priorities and all that. So
Oh.
we will, you may, the court may well hear from St. Andrews in this bill yet again in November.
The next reports are from the Peace River country. And moderator, I think you were the one who sent this report in and had different people from different congregations, Edna and Sherry and Margaret and Lorna. So anything that anybody wants to talk about those congregations?
Well, Edna, I don't know if for the only one here representing other congregations from Dixonville, I don't know if you or Lucille might have more you want to add to what's there.
Actually, our church is very small and it's struggling, but we're positive. We have a lot of faith, and we seem to pull in people from other congregations, not as effectively as we did, but we're going to talk. But we're still involved in the community. The pie sale that's referenced here was not, well, I mean, I do love making pies, but it was more to tell the community, we're here, we're doing things. The money that they gave us went to food banks. And I think that's really important for us to let our small community know that we're there. We're welcoming, we're still doing things. And sometimes that has to be distinctive.
Thank you. I think to sum up where I put in that at the end of those reports is that though the small in number, they continue to be faithfully worshiping together, praising and thanking God, and work together to bring the gospel message to their respective communities. And they all do that in different ways. And they may be small in number, but they want to keep going. And that's an awesome thing that they want to do. And that's how we work it out. And it seems to work.
The moderator, I question to you, do you prepare a new sermon every week and record it and send it off, or what?
I do a full worship service every week.
And record it?
Just the sermon.
Just the sermon.
They can do the rest. No, I've done that since the day I retired 3 years ago, and even when Ashley was in hospital, we still did it because I had to have something to do while she was recovering. So I've done that every year, every Sunday. And Sunday, if I'm going away, they'll get 3 weeks all in one shot. But I have to say, I work ahead of time, and the reason I work ahead of time, Ashley, when she was born, spent 9 months in Edmonton at the hospital, and I commuted between Grand Prairie and Edmonton pretty much every week or every other week. And it was a 2-lane road then, not a 4-lane road. So it took you 7 or 8 hours. But I worked ahead there, and I've always kept up working ahead, so I'm always working a few weeks ahead. So it works out good for the congregations if I go away. But they decide if they want to watch the video, or if they're tired of looking at me, they can read it themselves. But I enjoy doing it, and I think it's appreciated by them, so we keep going. And it works. And Edna's knowing all kinds of stuff about technology she didn't know before. Just as a quick thing, I have to tell you that Dixonville is a small rural church. It's a log church built in 1933. I think 33 it is. 32. So if you go up there, it's a log church, well preserved. And the lay minister who's mentioned it here just came one day and said, I've got a gift for you, and brought in, I think it's a 50-inch TV, and said, here, this way you can watch George easier than having to figure out how to do it. So they've had support in other ways, and Eli comes at the third Sunday of every month and does the services as well, and it's appreciated. So little things like that. So they went from not having that. You used to steal Wi-Fi from the fire department, didn't you?
No, actually, we borrow it from the
Oh, sorry.
with their permission.
Yeah. Well, I remember there was a funeral I did up there. We borrowed it from the fire hall, yeah.
Okay, committee reports. Congregational Life Committee report, moderator.
Okay. So that's got to be, William's moving to receive it for consideration.
Yeah?
And someone would like to second that? Betsy? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Want to make sure they want to talk to you.
Moderator, I simply give the report to the court for information. The principal thing that I want to draw attention to is that for that committee to move forward, they need people to step up. Supposedly there's 21 people or so appointed to that committee. When we had our most recent meeting, there were 3 of us, and 2 of us are retired in a week and a half. So I don't know what this Presbytery wants to have happen with that. I think maybe examining the responsibilities of that committee, possibly identifying the things that are really important to the Presbytery and focusing on those. And that includes the summer student. People are talking about having a summer student. Someone needs to do the job. I've been doing it for 7 years. First of all, I was convener of the mission committee, under which the summer student was. That committee was amalgamated with the nurture committee for Edmonton Lakeland to become the Congregational Life Committee, and now we have it in its current form for the Presbytery of the Northwest. So, I don't know what's going to happen. I really do. I've been asking for over a year, committee members, what's going to happen, and who's going to set forward, and there's been nothing. So to be honest, I leave it in your hands. I don't know what more I can do.
Barb, sorry.
I have a question, moderator. I've recently been talking to someone who would, in my opinion, be well, experienced to do the job of convener of that committee, but is an alternate presbyter, not a regular presbyter. So I'm just wondering, like, how our rules work with that, or if it has to be, Debbie Esau is the person I'm thinking of, by the way.
So, moderator, a person who convenes a committee of Presbytery does not have to be a member of Presbytery, but would have to get permission to speak at Presbytery, but we would certainly grant that and would say that if you're a convener of a committee and not a member of Presbytery, you have permission to speak and debate at Presbytery. They just wouldn't be allowed to vote. And so there's not a problem with that. And obviously this committee is looking for people to step up.
So and I appreciate so much the work that William and Christina have done overall and all of their time in the presbytery. I'm just not clear on, like, we usually form our committees or reconfigure at a certain time, but is this meeting the time to appoint a convener? Or
If you have a recommendation and you've got someone willing, you could certainly make a motion.
the willingness part, I'm just gonna clarify.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Go make the motion.
I make the motion that Debbie Esau of St. Andrew's Church in Edmonton be appointed as the convener of the community life,
Or congregational life. Congregational life.
congregational life.
Seconded by Mark. Now, William, you want to speak on that, or?
I speak in favor of that, if Debbie's willing to, we can sit down, I can give her a bullet. But, again, a committee is more than one person. And so, for example, when we would be holding the Ride for Refuge that then became the Journey for Hope at Dayspring Church. The primary person who worked with me on that was the representative elder from that church. He has unfortunately passed away this year. So if there's something happening for PWS&D, there needs to be people who are passionate about it. I understand that First Church may well be doing something about that this year, I'm not sure. So I speak in favor, and I'm very happy to hear that Debbie's willing to do this. The other stuff happening, okay. This is about appointing someone. I'm
Yeah, we'll come
supporting that.
it will come back.
I can finish my report.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Just a question, because I'm sort of out of the loop. Is there a time frame when committees are appointed and listed and, like, is there a time frame when people get appointed to committees, and is that information distributed?
When do we usually do that, January?
Since we've had the new presbytery, we've not really changed our committees yet and sort of redrafted them. And we probably should do it on an annual basis. Often it was done the end of June to start in September. That doesn't really have to. It can go on an annual basis. We could do that starting January and go through a calendar year. But yeah, we should, because obviously we need to, in light of the information that we've had and that William has shared, and we probably need to redraft committees and make sure that the Congregational Life Committee has several people who are committed and are going to be there.
So there is the motion there that we're dealing with, and, oh, Ken?
Part of the problem that you're starting to see repercussions if you don't show up. So you can do whatever you want, but there's absolutely no repercussions. If people don't show up to Presbytery, there's no fault. There's people who have been to Presbytery for probably years, no repercussions. People who have been on committees for years, no repercussions, because we act and think more like Congregationalist churches than as a Presbytery. So I'm not sure what you can do with that, really. So vote away.
Yeah.
But that's more comment than anything
Yeah.
else.
So we still have this motion, and I understand what you're saying, what William's saying, and I can't disagree with any of that. But the motion there is about
We got a new,
convener to start, but that then gives you William an opportunity to speak after that. But we need to have a new convener to start with, and go. Then from there, maybe there's a way of finding those who want to do the work, as opposed to assigning names randomly.
yeah, and maybe that's just something, we kind of stick everybody in the Presbytery on a committee. And whether they want to be in a committee or not, that's kind of what we do. And it may be better to have a smaller committee of 6 or 7 committed people who will actually be there than to have, as you said, 20 on a committee, but most of them don't want to be there, and then it ends up nobody's there. So
do you want to deal with that motion? Then we can have some more discussion about that. So that's the motion. Moved in-
Debbie Esau be
Yeah.
appointed as convener of Congregational Life.
And it's moved and seconded. All in favor of that? Those opposed? William, if you'd like to.
So, when I spoke about 3 people showing up for me, I'm talking about the most recent one. There are people on the committee who do show up and do things. For example, Sue and Janet Taylor have been doing a great job in putting together training and educational programs for the Presbytery over the last couple of years. So I appreciate the work that they do, and there are others who are there. It's just, having the bodies to do the work. I think the idea of reaching up to the congregations and saying, these are the areas of where we want to see something happen. Do you have somebody who is interested in PWS&D and would be willing to work with others on putting together a program, some kind of fundraiser? Something like that where you get the people who are part of those ministries working together and finding some way of supporting one another. So I think that idea would be good. For example, my item 3, next year should be the National Youth Conference, previously called Uplift. I say previously because it seems to keep changing names. I can't remember what the name is going forward. Well, anyway, so if there's going to be fundraising, I don't know about you folk, but I noted that there's $3,000 currently in our budget. That's great. And we had a number of years that kind of got put aside because it wasn't happening during the pandemic. And all that money is now gone. It's been used. And so if you have any young people who are going to go to Uplift, they're going to need to be doing some fundraising themselves, their congregation, and us as a presbytery. So it's usually at the presbytery level that transportation as a group is organized. Well, again, that's principally Christine was heading that up. And so we need someone who would be willing to, if they're interested, hear how it's been done previously, but then take on that role. So the area of that biannual youth event, and then the summer ministry student. So I have material on all these things, happy to share them, but it takes someone to share them with. And Debbie and I will most certainly be putting our heads together, and I will be passing over to her whatever I have. So when are we leaving? We leave in 2 weeks.
You leave? mean physically leave?
Bounds of the Presbytery,
Oh,
in, October 15th,
Okay, 15th October.
October 8th, read it, but yes.
you're selling your house and moving away?
Sold and bought.
Well, congratulations on that. We're not only going to miss you as presbyters, we're going to miss you as friends and people who live in the area too, so.
Out of curiosity, where are you going to?
We're returning from whence we came, back to Canada, Ontario.
I was gonna say Ontario, Ottawa.
Which otherwise people know as a western suburb of Ottawa.
It's where the hockey rink is, isn't it?
It's where the hockey rink is, yes.
for now.
We're taking over the hockey rink. And the senators can rent from us. Yeah, we're heading back there. That's where family is and family will congregate, so that's where our draw
James
is.
D. Hurd.
But it's a little scary. We sold our house, bought a house there, signed it all on our phones while on a bus between Ottawa and Cambridge, on their Wi-Fi. It is frightening how these things happen these days. Anyway.
Okay.
I can't figure out.
So, that's basically the report, moderator, so unless there's any other questions, for information.
Mark has,
I was wondering if the sharing ministry should report now.
Oh, please
Okay.
do, if you would like.
That's all right. So for the sharing ministry, I wanted to pick up on a couple things. The student minister was one of the main responsibilities, traveling around with me.
I'll put it
this
here, rethinking responsibilities and structure.
In person in
Yeah.
different places.
Yeah,
We had
that's
a
what's
few
being said.
other challenges, so my recommendation for future student ministers is that they have a year of seminary under their belts first. I think that would count. The the ones involved with the sharing ministries were getting really good reports back. We were worried about how congregations would adjust to this model. It has gone very well, and there's a lot of enthusiasm about it. We are approaching, it's a 3-year appointment, so that 3 years ends in February. And so we are going to be presenting another motion to Presbytery for your November meeting, that there be another 3-year appointment for this. We did not use all the funds that were set aside for the sharing ministry from the Presbytery of Edmonton Light Plan. We had grants from the Synod that have helped out. So we think there could be some funding available. We're going to present a good argument about why this has some momentum and needs to continue. We are governed, the way we've structured ourselves is we have a regional ministry council that reports to the Congregational Life Committee, then reports to the Presbytery. We need 2 more members on that regional ministry council, and particularly members from the Presbytery at large. So I do have a recommendation, I need a seconder for this, that the regional ministry council be given permission to add to their number.
Anybody want to second that? Barb? Or, let's give him a chance to catch up.
To add 2 people or just to add?
We need two
Yeah,
new members, yeah. And if anyone's interested, for that other, please talk to me. Oh, we can
Okay.
add one name now.
Okay,
Is that all right? I've got a wave. Charlie McNeil.
Okay.
So we will add one more member.
do you want to change your motion to 1?
So the motion would then be that Charlie B. McNeil be added to the Regional Ministry Council, and that the Regional Ministry Council be given permission to add one more to their number.
So Mark, Chang, and Barb, was it?
Barb, yeah. Okay. Well, he's figuring out how that goes together. Any questions or comments on that? And do you want a 3rd shot?
I have a question.
See?
In the motion that's coming about extending, is it naming who's going to be the person? Okay.
So there's a motion that's moved and seconded. All those in favor, so that's Charlie's, and then add one more. Those opposed? That's carried.
And I just wanted to add that this week I was invited to attend a meeting, an ecumenical shared ministry meeting. I had Anglicans, Lutherans, United, Moravians all present, and then because I knew people, they just invited me. And they are trying to encourage the churches in our area to be looking at more ecumenical work. And so they have a memorandum of agreement that I'm going to be sharing with the admin committee and coming forward to Presbytery, but doing encouraging the sort of work that we are seeing done at St. Andrew's Ministry.
And also takes place in Chetwynd, presently. William, anything more? Would you like, a question I would just direct you, your last line, it seems to me the Presbytery will need to do a major rethinking of the responsibilities and structure of their committee, identifying are the key items. You want that noted well. And I think that's what...
Yes, I think it would be really helpful for the Presbytery to identify what its key areas of work for this committee to focus on and put the effort into that. It used to be, as you probably know, where Presbytery committees and sometimes congregational committees were designed to reflect the national church structure, so that things passed from the national church down through the presbyteries to the congregations and then back up again, right? And these days, it seems to me that doesn't happen. You'd be changing all the time because the assembly seems to keep changing things. I think for the presbytery to identify in that broad area of responsibility that's been given to congregational life, these are the things that we really want to see happen. And either the others are addendum that, if you've got time and people who are interested in those things, they can work on them, or you write the standing order of the responsibility of the committee. But that's my thoughts. Well, I was offering it as, if you would like it as a motion, I can do that.
It's your prerogative.
So moved. I say so moved and I haven't given you the motion.
So moved, yeah. Just basically that.
And you have a seconder. There you go.
Who's the seconder? Wait.
We're just taking your last line and making that part of the motion. It's easier.
Right. And Sue Hobson. So, moved and seconded by William Ball and Sue Hobson that the Presbytery do a major rethinking of the responsibilities and structures of the Congregational Life Committee? Congregational Committee?
Congregational life.
Okay.
Any discussion around that, Barb?
A question and kind of a comment. I'm wondering if, I think this, I speak in favor of the motion, and I'm wondering, since we didn't, unless I'm mistaken, have sort of a specific plan or meeting or whatever in June to look at all the committees and reassign or shuffle or whatever based on things, that kind of needs to be part of it, right? Or, this is a big committee that does super important work, and maybe there should be some kind of subcommittee or working group or whatever that addresses this committee specifically. But I'm just wondering if it needs to be done more broadly and sooner than later, as we're coming together, and again, we're here in person and getting to know some of our friends from the other two presbyteries that aren't our own, or what the past was.
the shaping committee, we'll call it.
Oh,
The committee to look at changes and possibilities, right? That's what you're talking about. I want to make sure which committee you're talking. To be the
I'm talking about the congregation,
congregational life?
yes.
You want to be on that committee, congregational life? Oh, okay.
I'm going to put that in the minutes.
Make her initially.
And I'll just say again, like, the balls are so awesome. I don't know why I wasn't doing more work on that committee before. I don't remember anyone asking me which committee I wanted to be on or how. So that's why I'm kind of saying that how we structure our committees, especially now after the three of us have come together, is really important.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, I kind of inherited this position on the committee from Bill Patterson, and I hadn't really got a clue what I was supposed to do. But I recall years ago that this committee was formed, this super committee, of smaller committees put together. And we're finding that it's not functioning really well. I'm wondering how many of these smaller committees, should we go back to the old framework or what? I just volunteered to return.
I think the answer is that we went to this because people thought the old way wasn't functioning as well as it should. So, yeah. I think Ken's comments are partly relevant that presbytery committees often are left to a couple of faithful people, even though there's a bunch of people on the committee to do the work. Just like in most congregations, most of the work is done by about 10% of your congregation or 20% of your congregation. Most of your giving is done by a smaller number, like 80% of the money that comes in is from the 20% who give it, that sort of thing. It's often the way it is. So I'm not sure there's an answer to what is the best committee structure, but I think that it is important, as William said, that let's at least identify the things that really have to happen and make sure that those are addressed, rather than just a big general thing of everything to do with Christian education, everything to do with youth, everything to do with fellowship, everything to do with that. That's your mandate. But say the presbytery would like these things done. We want to make sure that our youth go to the conferences and that they're fundraising and supported. We want to make sure there's a pre-WS&D event each year. We want to make, and specify 2 or 3 things at least. Then they have a concrete thing they can focus on, rather than just a general list of anything in particular.
Can you put a third person on that little group there?
What's that?
Can you put a third person on your little group there that Mark asked for?
Well, the two of them were going on congregational life. One is the convener and one is.
You want to be on congregational life?
Yeah, okay. The question I would ask about the motion as it is right at the moment, does that need to just to put it back to the admin committee to start the process? It may not end the process, but, or does
I'm going to put in the minutes, admin committee will look into this.
And I would also suggest to William, Christine in particular, before you leave, when you can't leave till you do it, how's that sound? You're identifying some of that. You're making the statement, which is not wrong, but to identify that and to help the new convener as well, as we work through that, you have an insight into it more so than the rest. And I'm just suggesting and asking and not threatening, actually. So, but to have that information sent to their end, to the min, so we can start that process. Okay, thank you. Okay, the motion's there. Do we vote on that? No, we didn't.
No.
All in favor of that motion? Those opposed? That's carried.
Okay, pastoral report.
Actually, moderator, before the pastoral report, I have a request, and that would be, since I'm going on the
Regional Ministry.
regional ministry committee, that my name be taken out of the pastoral committee.
All right,
And thank you.
I'm gonna put that, it was wherever I had that before.
That was the one from Mark.
Yeah, I think that, put that
At
up
the end.
here, okay, and so I put that in the minutes that you're off the pastoral committee.
Thank you, moderator. And
Do you want to make a motion to adopt your report there, William, just to get that
Nope.
tied up? You don't need that one? That
We
falls in there?
received it for information, and the other motions are
Okay.
additional motions.
Okay, all right, so pastoral care, who's looking after that? It's you?
Nope, I'm not looking after pastoral care. I don't know who's
Pastoral-
speaking for,
Well,
come on. Anna sent the report,
yes.
and according to the report, Donna Richard and Ken McCrae are going to make the motions. Yeah,
That's what it says.
You wanna go for it, Donna?
Well, let's move.
do you want me to read it, or?
Well, the report's being moved by Donna and Ken to be received and considered, so we'll do that first. All in favor? Those opposed? That's carried. Okay, carry on, Ken.
So various visitations were done, completed. Actually, I'm glad for the opportunity to stand. So that's good. I'll try not to fall over. Calgary Hungarian, full report. You've already dealt with a lot of that, so that's great. Various visitation teams are up, no, already done. So visitation for Memorial Lake was supposedly done on the 13th September, so great, fantastic, looking for that. Visitation to Westmount, I think was done as well, was it, Charlie?
Yeah, it's right there.
Perfect, great, I'm just reading the report aloud, by the way, because I didn't know I was doing anything. Read the report. Okay, that's about it. The only addition that I will have is that we have done both the session and the minister report for Millwoods. You have the report for the ministers. The session report just didn't get into Anna time, so it's all done. It's been given to the interim moderator. That's the important part because he'll deal with everything else. They thought they were terrible people, ministers. No, no, they were great. They're going to miss them greatly. Everything else. And the reports for Harry Curry and for the First Presbyterian Church was done. Very gracious for both reports there. I'm not sure if there's any real recommendations that we haven't already covered.
There's no recommendations in the
No,
report,
no,
so.
it's mostly receive and consideration.
So I'll record it as received for information,
Okay.
the report.
So we don't need that motion.
So we don't need a report to accept it.
Yep, new business?
Any new business of the court? Anybody, sharing ministry,
Yeah.
time to share about things that are happening in congregations and ministries of the church?
This is your opportunity, if you'd like to.
I would like to say personally, First Church gave me a wonderful send-off, and it was a really nice event. And I'm sure there's going to be a great one for William and Christine coming up too. Zoltan?
Thank you. Once I made it here to Radir, not let me read the fort, and I'm happy that I'm happy to report in a way that actually Harry is our interim moderator now, and then we are in good hands. I wouldn't really say that our troubles are over yet, but since Reverend Parish went back to
Excellent. Anybody else? Oh, Mark?
St. Andrews Edmonton is going to have their annual dinner and silent auction on November 25th. 15th, November 15th. So Jane will send out more information, correct information about that later. We always really appreciate when Presbytery members come for that. And I just want to point out, when you go down for lunch after this, there are display tables, and Knox right here has a wonderful bulletin board to look at. I've put out some books of my own collection. I'm not lending those books, but there's some important books there. You should look at them, great history things. And Betsy brought some stuff from Strathcona, and including 1 minute book that has both the, from 1895.
1895.
And has the names of Alexander Forbes and George McQueen. You're going to hear more about both those people in this afternoon's event.
Anybody else? Oh, yep, Ken?
Just one thing I'd like to mention. I don't go to Presbytery meetings very often because, number one, where I live, there's no internet. I've tried to use the phone a couple times, didn't work real well. I will try to show up whenever you have an in-person meeting. I think they are important. I am not going to a church with Charlie in the middle of winter at 7 o'clock and getting home at 10. I'm just not into driving at night anymore, and the winter doesn't really enthuse me that much. So I apologize for not being able to attend most of your meetings, but when I can come, I will. If it's in person, I will be there, almost without fail. Now, that being said, somebody that tells me what I normally do isn't here, so I'm safe. I believe it's the 26th of October. St. Andrews in Nisdale is having a service where the other churches have been invited in town. Don't know how many will show up, but we're going to do a fundraiser for the food bank in Ayrshire. And the other thing that I wanted to make note, I know it was in the reports, we had our candle service. I see some people that were there, Richard for one. We started this, I think it was 3 years ago, and we had like 21 or 2 or 24 people. This year we had over 50. So it is growing. Whatever comes in that day stays for the candle.
Thank you.
The next Presbytery meeting?
William has a...
Moderator. So, with Christine and I wrapping things up at Millwood, you'll appreciate the fact you get to that point in your life when a whole bunch of material that you've used, you don't really want it hanging around anymore, but it could be of use to some folk. So there is material on one of the tables close to the kitchen. We encourage you to take a look through the books that are there, the resources for Christian education and youth group and worship and so on. If there's anything you want in there, please take it. Please. We don't want to be taking it home with us. In addition to that, I came with 3 home communion sets. For some reason, I ended up with 4 of these. One was from Ken Wheaton, who's passed away, Reverend Ken Wheaton. And I don't know. Anyway, I don't need all those. And I was thinking that there are congregations where there are lay people, elders, who are doing home communions. And so perhaps that could be of use to anybody who is doing something like that. So they are there. You are welcome to take them. God bless you. And I hope that it's really useful. I also have a couple of preaching stoles for whoever might want to use them. One of the things that we have noted in a significant difference between Central Canada and Western Canada is the mode of clergy apparel. Things are often much more informal here, and that's just fine by me. But for those who do gown and would like a preaching control, they're there to be taken. Thank you.
Okay. Harry.
The next regular meeting is in Dixonville, no,
Dixonville.
right, Edna? Well, I think it'd be cool to have a meeting there sometime, so, but maybe next year we could go up and visit somewhere in the Peace River next summer.
Yeah.
The next regular meeting by Zoom, November 20th at 7 PM, moderator.
And a
And
motion to adjourn. Ken, I was waiting for that hand to go up. All in favor of adjourning then? Well, let's close with a word of prayer then. Mighty God, we indeed give you thanks for this time we've spent together as the Presbytery of the Northwest, and we have many things we've worked on, but many things to still work on. But we do all this to your glory. And as we go to have a meal together and also to have a time of celebration of the 150th anniversary of the Presbyterian Church in Canada, we become aware of who we are and what we are part of. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you, and the Lord be kind and gracious to you all, and look upon you with favor and give you peace. Amen.
amen.
Thank you, everybody. And what's the plan for lunch? Downstairs? What time is it? At 12:30?
Already prepared, so we could.
Everybody can go downstairs and then be ready when it's ready. Just so we know, everybody, so it's downstairs for lunch, and then the event will be back up here after, at 2 o'clock, right? 2 o'clock for the celebration, 150th, so, okay? Oh, yeah, I'll let you get it out of there, it's just, 'cause you know how you put it in, so.
Thank you. Very, can I take? Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.